If you go to the gym and you're weightlifting and you're building up your muscles, does it happen overnight or does it take a little bit of time? But in the waiting, what's happening to your muscles is that they're getting stronger. So is the integrity of your heart because you're positioning yourself to do more. The other character that we will explore today is Anna the prophetess. Now, she is a woman in the Word that fascinates me. In the book of Luke, there are only 3 tiny little verses about her, but it is enough to tell a beautiful story. Her story is in Luke chapter 2 as we continue on in this Christmas story, verses 36 through 38. Now, what I love here is that Scripture tells us about her living location. She lived in the temple. It also tells us about her origins, her history, whose daughter she was, what tribe she was a part of. And it tells us this: she was very old. Now, I don't know about you, but if they were writing scripture about me, I wouldn't want them to include she was very old in the scriptures. Anybody else with me? But they included that because you need to understand her story. So her story is that she was married as a young girl, like most women, and she was only a bride for 7 years. Shortly there, she became a widow just after those 7 years. And at that point, she made a decision to live in the temple all of her days. What a beautiful choice. And she, like Simeon, was waiting for the Messiah, the one that had been proclaimed and prophesied from the prophet Isaiah hundreds of years before. She was there in the temple every day, praying, worshiping, fasting, as Luke tells us in this chapter. Now, let me explain to you a little bit more in Luke 2:37 about her worship. Now, in the temple, there were different sections throughout. And depending on your status, it gave you access or denial to certain areas. As a woman, she was only having access to a certain area of the inner courts when you first came in. Now, as a woman, she would be in what would be like our foyer right out here, ladies. And so everyone would come into the main areas, the main gates of the temple, but then as a woman, she would have to remain there. And it was there that she would worship. It was there that she would pray. It was there that she had spent her days fasting and awaiting the Messiah. And I want you to picture that she would have watched many come through the temple gates. Many young families like Mary and Joseph bringing their young baby to fulfill the law of Moses for the time of purification and to dedicate their child. But when Jesus came, something was very different. It says here that when Simeon was holding the baby, that she came up upon the family and she noticed that this was the Christ child. How did she determine that this baby, amongst the thousands of babies that she would have seen within the temple gates, that this one was Jesus, the long-awaited Christ? How could she tell? It's hard to tell some babies apart from others, but she was able to note this one, this kid, this one is the special one. Well, I have a small inkling. For the amount of time that she spent in prayer and in worship to God her Father, she was quickly able to recognize his son. And I implore to you, the more time that you spend with God, you'll see his son showing up everywhere in your life. It has been a deep prayer of my own that I would have eyes like Anna to see Jesus. I would see Jesus moving everywhere. I would see him in every area of my life. I would see him doing things and I wouldn't miss it. And because I have prayed for those Anna eyes, God has shown me many finally moments in my life. See, her position in the inner courts did not limit her to her worship or her prayers or her hope or her prayer pipeline to heaven, but she stayed there awaiting until that finally moment came. And what I love, as it says at the end of her passage, is that she talked about the child to everyone who had been waiting expectantly for God to rescue Jerusalem. I love that we have finally moments in our lives. Consider some finally moments. When a woman gets engaged, everyone wants to see the ring, right? Think about a guy when he finally gets that truck he's been saving for, right? Everyone wants to go and listen to the roar of the engine or check out the big wheels. Think about when a baby is born. People come and study the face and the features and the wrinkles, and they listen to the sounds, and they point out, oh, it looks like Aunt Mildred or Uncle Frank or so-and-so. But there's joy in the finally moments. But how many of us know that there's a lot of waiting that comes before? Jesus is always worth the wait, and no matter what situation you're in. I want to encourage you in Psalm 27:14, check out this verse. Wait for the Lord. Be strong, and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. The waiting can be hard, but there's always the end that comes, and the finally will come to you. Now, I heard something before about waiting, and I can't take credit for it, but I will pass it on to you to share. In the waiting, put on weight. Now, this is no excuse to binge eat Christmas cookies and gain 10 pounds during the holidays. How many of you are stress eaters? Anybody in the room a stress eater? When you're waiting and you're worrying about something, you're thinking about it. And remember, we're not supposed to worry about anything, as Matthew 6 tells us. I mean, I love my chocolate. I have some on my desk and in my desk. The in my desk is for me. The on my desk I'll share with you. But if there's some stress, I always go for that chocolate that's hidden in the drawer. But while you wait, put on weight. Think with me, if you go to the gym and you're weightlifting and you're building up your muscles, does it happen overnight or does it take a little bit of time? It takes some time, doesn't it, to build that up? Now, I wish it happened overnight, right? But in the waiting, what's happening to your muscles is that they're getting stronger. Your resilience is getting greater. Your tenacity is getting stronger, and so is the integrity of your heart, because you're positioning yourself to do more. You can go a little more, a couple more reps each day. And while you're waiting for your body to transform, you're putting on weight. The muscle weight on your body, and your body is starting to change. It's the same in the position of our heart as we wait for God to move in our life. When we position our heart to allow Him to move, we put on a little bit of spiritual strength. And we come to the end of our waiting and get to our finally, we look back and we see, I was stronger for it along the way.